Hello and welcome to these rough and ready videos in the book of Job to help you to read through Job for yourself. We're reading it as a church family and preaching on it on Sundays. I hope this will help us. We're in Job chapter 38, 39, 40, 41 and the very beginning of 42. So let's get an overview of that because it's a very simple section but a very amazing and very deep section. Simple in structure, very deep in message. This is God's response to Job, all that's gone on in Job's life and all of Job's words. We're told in 38 verse 1, then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. And we're also told that very same thing in chapter 40 verse 6, and that clues us into the fact that there are two speeches by God. So God answers the first 38 verse 1 through to chapter 40, well, through to the end of 39, then 40, the beginning of 40 is Job's response, and then 40 verse 6 through to the end of 41 is God's second speech, and then Job's response at the beginning of 42. So the first speech, see what it's all about there in 38 verse 2, is about how God is ruling the world and his competence to do so. And so first of all in 38, 1 to 38, and then in 38 verse 39 to the end of the chapter, we see how God answers that charge by speaking about his wonderful rule over, first of all, chapter 38, the inanimate, the non-living created order. So loads of stuff about foundations, seas, light, dark, skies, lots of questions. Job, can you, were you, asking Job, did you make this? Can you rule it? Answer obviously is no, only God. Only I have done these things. Only I have the competency to rule over the non-living world and the living world, particularly the untamable, the wild and the deadly. And therefore, chapter 40 verse 2, we come to that sort of challenge to Job. Look, shall a fault finder contend with the Almighty? He who argues with God, let him answer it. Look, I'm ruling powerfully and perfectly well, Job. And so Job then is sobered and silenced in verse 3 to 5 of chapter 40. And then the second section is about God's injustice. Is God unjust? So verse 6 to 8 of chapter 40 is the sort of response is how God addresses Job's challenge to him. Verse 8 especially, will you even put me in the wrong? Will you condemn me that you may be in the right? That's what God is saying Job has been doing, attacking God's justice, even to the point of saying that God is even potentially evil. He's the monster God. And so this is his answer. And so verse 9 to 14, we see how God challenges Job. You couldn't subdue the proud, could you, Job? But verse 15 to 24, introduced to Behemoth, and in chapter 41 focused on Leviathan, these two great beasts that only God can control. And they're bigger than beasts. This is a representation of death and Satan. And the point is, God is saying, you can't even begin to control people, the proud, but I can leash in and rein in even the mightiest beasts, even Satan himself. And so at the end, Job answers the Lord in chapter 42. He confesses God's sovereignty and control over all things, that God is almighty. He admits that he's spoken of things that he didn't know and understand, and he repents meekly of his sin and turns back to God as his God. He worships God. It's more than the initial sobering where he kind of admits and sort of shuts up. Now he confesses and turns back towards God in a full way. So I hope that's helpful. That's just an overview, and next videos we'll go through that in just a bit more detail, getting into some of the imagery and a bit more of the detail of the text.